My name is Andy, and this is the most magical podcast on Earth. When I'm not on holiday at Walt Disney World, I'm planning a holiday to Disney. And when I'm not planning a holiday to Disney, I'm talking about Disney with other UK fans like me who make the trip to Orlando to the House of the Mouse. So if you too are mad about Mickey or daft about Donald, then this is the podcast for you. Or maybe you're a Disney novice just thinking about or planning your first trip. Maybe you don't even know the difference between Disney World and Disneyland. It's about 2,500 miles, by the way. Then this is definitely the podcast for you. Every week, I'll be chatting to other Disney superfans from around the UK to share their memories, their favourite attractions and their top tips. This week, it's somebody who's been to all 6 Disney parks. But which one did he say this about?
Probably going to upset a lot of people, but I'd say it's probably quite towards the bottom.
We'll chat to our special guest Alex very soon. Also, we'll be catching up with all the latest news from the parks, and if you're about to jet off to Orlando, everything you need to know. This is the most magical podcast on Earth as part of the Secret Recordings Network. You can keep in touch at PodMagical on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram if you've got any questions. Jackie has been in touch on Instagram. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for your question. I keep reading about Yacht and Beach Club. Never stayed there, but people say it's walkable to Epcot. How walkable exactly is it? Do you know what, Jackie? It's really walkable. I have stayed at Beach Club, which is a beautiful resort. In fact, Alex, who is the guest on today's episode, will talk more about that in a little bit. But when it says walkable to Epcot, it is walkable. You are talking a quicker walk than it would be if you parked in the car park and walked it from your car to the entrance. It's a different entrance you go into for Epcot. If you're staying at Yacht and Beach or Boardwalk, you'll go over in at World Showcase, so it'll bring you in between England and France. That's where the new Skyliner, the new gondola system, the new cable cars are bringing you into as well. So I'm guessing once that's open and fully up and running, it's probably going to be a very busy entrance around there. It's usually pretty quiet. But yeah, definitely. If you're looking at staying at Yacht and Beach, I would definitely recommend it. Also, it's got the best pool at Walt Disney World. Yacht and Beach got a lazy river and everything. And do you know what? Even if you're just at Epcot and you're not staying at Yacht and Beach or Boardwalk, go over there for a wander. It's around the boardwalk. If you've never been, just take a little bit of time out in the afternoon, maybe an hour or two. Just there's a little bakery there or a pizza window. Grab yourself a margarita, watch the boats go by. You can also, by the way, walk over to Hollywood Studios from Yacht and Beach and Boardwalk and Swan and Dolphin. It's a little bit further, probably about a 15-minute walk. You can get the boat as well between Epcot and Hollywood Studios. I found, because I'm a fast walker, that it's actually faster walking than getting the boat. So by the time you waited for the boat and got on it and it's had a couple of stop-offs. But yeah, definitely that's one of the best things about Yacht and Beach, Swan Dolphin, Boardwalk is the location. 2 theme parks walkable. So definitely consider it, Jackie. Thanks for your question. Also, I got a message coming through here as well. This is from Jeremy. They've booked for half term, just going for a week, Andy, in February. The kids love their pool days, but will it be warm enough for a pool day in February? Hit and miss. It's really hit and miss. I mean, we're British, so anything that's above 20 degrees is a pool day for us. The Americans, you might see them like wrapped up in February. You can get a really cold day in February. Then the following morning you can get up and it's really hot and it's like 80, 90 degrees. I've been in January where it's been really cold in the morning, but we've had pool days in January and December. If you're up for braving it, then hit and miss. It's like any kind of weather with Florida. It can be really cold one day and then really warm the next, but half term for February is probably the cheapest time of year to go as well. So yeah, it's worth risking it. You can't really plan a pool day. Keep your options open. If you get up in the morning, think it's warm enough, go to the pool, but don't particularly plan one in. If you've got any questions, we're here to answer them every Friday on the podcast at PodMagical, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a like, give us a follow, say hello. Also the place to go if you fancy coming on the podcast one week for a chat. You know, I love chatting to people about their times, their experiences, their top tips over at Walt Disney World. This week, I've got somebody who is a theme park fanatic, a guy who has visited all 6 of the Walt Disney parks, Alex. Tell me about the first time you went to Walt Disney World.
It was 2006. I was 9 years old when I first went to Walt Disney World.
So it was like the dream trip that your parents...
Definitely. They teased me about it for a long time, and one day I came home from school and there were some Mickey Mouse ears and some tickets sat in front of me, and let's just say I wasn't too bothered about school for the rest of the summer season until we got to go in July, which was incredible, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Have
you got a favourite memory either from that trip or any time that you've been?
I think for me, the memories of going in there with my family, my grandparents. It was the last holiday we actually all went on together as a family, so it was very, very special to me. And I also also remember being quite young and walking out of Magic Kingdom after the nighttime fireworks. It was Wishes at the time.
Wishes.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Oh, don't get me singing. I'll be doing it all day.
If you've never seen Wishes, I'd look it up on YouTube. It's got the most beautiful music.
It's lovely. It's a really lovely show. We were walking out the fireworks at the end of the day, and my granddad was holding one hand and my nan was holding the other of mine as we kind of hoppled along Main Street, USA, and it's one of the best memories of my entire life, to be honest with you.
God,
really quite
well
special.
up.
I know. Oh, don't worry, it's going to get emotional.
They do that, though. There's something that Disney do about tapping into all those
charm.
memories, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, the people that you're there with, you do put away that you're in a theme park sometimes, and you do realise that you are, surrounded by people who are all obsessed with the same thing. It's wonderful. You don't even have to like Disney to go there and enjoy it.
Have you got a favourite attraction or a parade?
My favourite attraction across Walt Disney World, for me, to be honest, is probably Expedition Everest. There's something about that roller coaster that just stands so towering and so beautiful in Animal Kingdom. And no matter how pretty Pandora might look, there's nothing quite as charming as seeing the Yeti in the Himalayan mountains. I've got to say, it's a pretty special ride for that park, and it's something that I always have to do when I'm there. It's at the top of the list every single time.
I love that. There's something about that ride that gets me in my stomach. That not a lot of rides do.
To be fair, it's not really an intense ride if you compare it to things you get at other theme parks and amusement parks, but it's fun, it's thrilling, and in the beautiful sunshine, surrounded by the most perfect views of any theme park in the world, in my opinion.
Have you had the choice, front or back row?
Oh, I would probably, to be honest, now most roller coasters I do like sitting on the back row, but Expedition Everest, I am going to sit on the front if I have the choice. Just because of those views going down some of those big drops and being the first to reach the peak at the top of the train, on the top of the hill. Special.
Now,
very, very special.
If you can plan that for when the fireworks are on at Epcot,
you've got a good chance. You've got a great view.
Illuminations.
Yeah, whilst it's still running, Illuminations. Let's not touch on that one.
So where would you stay? Do you stay at Disney or would you stay somewhere else in Orlando?
If I was focusing heavily on Disney on a visit, I would definitely be staying at the Yacht and Beach Club. That's my favourite resort on site. It's just really quite charming. Got a nice little lake around it. Really secluded, but a beautiful resort nonetheless. Reminds me of Sequoia Lodge in Disneyland Paris. So it's very much like Newport Bay style. Very, very charming. I love it. But if I was staying just to do all of the parks in Orlando, I would stay in a place called Celebration. And I'd normally stay in a hotel there called the Clarion Inn and Suites, which is perfect because it offers free transport to Disney, Universal and all the other parks, which I think is quite important to note when visiting the parks out there, that taxis and transportation can get quite expensive if you don't plan it well enough. So the good thing about that hotel is it's 15 minutes away from Disney. You can actually walk to Disney Springs. It's only 15 minutes to walk, and then you can get transport from there or get the free shuttle from the hotel, and it also takes you free to all the other parks and attractions in Orlando, which is quite useful to know.
That's a brilliant tip.
It is.
I love that.
And it's quite an affordable hotel as well. You can book it on most websites, so definitely take note of that.
What about places to eat? Have you got a favourite restaurant?
Okay, so one I always remember going in as a child, and it's very, very boring and very, very cliche. I used to love going in Casey Jr.'s restaurant, just at the bottom of the main street on the left-hand side. Hot dogs, chips, typical fast food, something perfect for a theme park, I think. You've got to be able to get a bit of lunch in the afternoon. But if I was to recommend anywhere in the evening to eat, I guess it's another cliche one in some people's eyes. I really like to go and sit and be our guest. I think be our guest. If you can get a reservation, if you've prepared 3 years in advance for...
I think it's a lot easier now because they've changed it to a set menu, and if you're on the dining plan, it's 2 credits.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a beautiful restaurant. The atmosphere in there, if you get the right time, you get to see everything as part of your experience. It's truly unique. And I can tell you that when I'm in there, I eat as slow as possible just to make sure I can take all
the
of it
most of it. And it's the only time you get to meet the Beast.
It is.
If you want to meet the Beast,
very, very
in that
exclusive.
restaurant.
And Lumiere, the animatronic. I don't want to give too much away, but certainly something very, very special in there. You're expecting more than just a meal in front of you on a table. You get a full themed experience in there, and it's certainly very, very special to me.
What's your planning strategy? Because you have to have one.
You do. I mean, a lot of people think sometimes you have to plan ride by ride, day by day. Now, me personally, I think definitely having a plan of which parks you want to visit on each day is very, very important, especially when going somewhere like Orlando. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, and you're best just preparing yourself that if it is your first time visiting, say you're going for about 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, you aren't going to get every single thing done. You are going to struggle, especially if you go at certain times of the year. If you go in the summer, you are going to struggle to get things done because a lot of people think, oh, outdoor rides, water rides, we can break it up and have a balance. Really, on the day, you really have to determine that ride is too busy. We're going to have to come back to that later on. So there's only so much of a plan you can put in, but I certainly recommend day by day knowing where you want to be, what time the fireworks are on, what time the parades are on. And you used to, back in the day, be able to plan so you could actually see all the nighttime spectaculars across all 4 Walt Disney World parks in one evening if you really, really planned it and you weren't afraid to get your marathon legs on between Epcot and Hollywood Studios. You could actually see, back in the day, it was Wishes, Illuminations, Fantasmic, and you could also, if you were really, really clever, catch the Main Street Electrical Parade as well.
But you can literally run from Hollywood Studios to Epcot.
You can get out of Fantasmic as quick as you can, run around the lake. It takes you about 20 minutes to do, and you can get yourself a nice little cosy spot in the United Kingdom Pavilion in Epcot, ready for Illuminations. I say that. You've only got till the end of August to make the most of that one, folks.
There's a new one coming.
There's a new one coming, which is going to be very special, I must say. It sounds great.
Chat some more to you very soon, Alex. In fact, I want to find out how your top 6 parks ranks, seeing as you're a member of the Six Castle Club. First up, let's have a look at what's gone on in the news this week. Starting with some essential news you need to know if you are booking or about to book your FastPasses for a forthcoming trip. Now, FastPasses, as you know, you can have 3 a day and you have to choose one park for your initial 3 FastPasses. They are changing the tiers at Hollywood Studios. So if you are booking now, there is a different Tier 1, Tier 2 attraction. So at the moment, if you're going now, Toy Story Mania, Slinky Dog Dash and Alien Swirling Saucers are all Tier 1. So you can choose one of those. However, from the 29th of August, which is, funnily enough, the date that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened, also Rock and Roller Coaster and Twilight Zone Terra Terra join Tier 1 attractions, so you can only choose one of those. Everything else remains as Tier 2, and everything else in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge will have no fast passes. If you want to go Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you just got to queue for those like everybody else. Here are my thoughts on this. Here will be my strategy if I was to book fast passes from the 29th of August. Well, firstly, think about getting there early because there are extra magic hours. But in terms of booking fast passes at Hollywood Studios, I would book them as soon as you can. 9, 10, 11 o'clock. I'll go for Slinky Dog as my Tier 1. Get them in as soon as you can. Then hopefully, if your last fast pass is, say, 11 o'clock, whilst you're in the queue for that, then try and get another Tier 1 attraction before lunchtime and then go on that way. And as I say, take advantage of those extra magic hours. Use jet lag. You'll be awake at 5 o'clock. Get there at 6 o'clock. Make the most of it. Also, August the 29th is the first date for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, which is longer than ever. There's some great new attractions coming, actually. Some great new food and wine that you can look forward to at the Epcot Food and Wine Festival, including the Appleseed Orchard Marketplace. Now, this is going to offer a unique variety of craft brews, ciders, wines and various bites. Now this is going to be in the Canada World Showcase, but it's inside the O Canada Theatre. Now the O Canada Theatre is around 360 film that is currently on a bit of a rest while they make a new film for it. So they've got some food and wine attractions inside there. Think of the aircon. Also something that caught my eye is a frozen apple pie drink, which is in there. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? New acts joining the Eat to the Beat concert series as well. So this runs alongside the Food and Wine Festival at the American Pavilion. On the stage there's some great live acts throughout the run, including Sheena Easton and Hanson. A couple of former boy bands have joined the lineup. 98 Degrees, did you remember them? And also UK act that was massive in America in the late 90s, early 90s, BB Mac. More about the Epcot Food and Wine Festival and all the other acts that are going to be there. Head over to tasteepcot.com. And also talking about food and wine at Epcot, there's a new fast casual barbecue restaurant opening. Going to be over at the American Adventure Pavilion in Epcot, opening later on this year. The Regal Eagle Smokehouse. Craft drafts and barbecues where the Liberty Inn currently is, which will be closing over the next couple of days. Don't forget, you can keep up to date with all the news from the parks if you follow us and like us. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we are at PodMagical. Same place to go if you want to be on the podcast for a chat. And this week, it's Alex who we're chatting to, a member of the Six Castle Club. He's been to all the Disney parks around the world. But going back to Florida, to Orlando, we've been talking about Walt Disney World, but outside the Disney bubble, anything else you want to do in Orlando? Anything else you like doing? I'm a little bit greedy. I do like to try and make the most of everything and try and cram as much in as possible. But I do recommend, if any of you get the chance, to go and watch one of the dinner shows on International Drive, which is one of the biggest streets in Florida. It's actually one of the biggest streets in America. It's over 21 miles straight long.
and they've got lots of entertainment venues, restaurants and things to try, but certainly go and watch, if you get a chance, the Pirate Dinner Show, or go and watch the Sleuths Murder Mystery Dinner Show. It's a full evening, you get a meal included, full entertainment for one night, really, really worth going. It's about $30 or $40 per person, but you're guaranteed a full pack night of entertainment, and they do a different show every single night, so you'll never see the same show twice. Really, really worth going to see. Recommend it, fun for the whole family.
And sadly, they don't have Dolly's Dixieland Stampede anymore.
They don't know.
Love that.
And I tell you what, I also remember there was a restaurant, and I don't want to say the name of it because it's not very PG, but it used to be a restaurant where you would basically pay to sit and eat a meal whilst the waiters and waitresses would insult you. And they used to bring your food over to you, and they were all training stand-up comedians who would bring meals over to you,
and they'd
criticise you. They'd make someone wear a dunce hat at the table, and they'd complain that you wanting to ask for something off the child's menu, and they'd actually physically stand there and just insult you. I do remember the name of it. As I say, I won't say. I'm sure you can find that information out online. But, more kind of really quirky restaurants in Orlando to check out. And, of course, the biggest McDonald's in the entire world on iDrive.
Is it still that?
It still is.
It feels like since the 90s.
Until, I believe, next year when Japan is opening one double the size. But back in the day, that used to have 36 lanes to pick your food from. That's crazy. Why do we do 36 cashiers all in one go? Can't even get one locally to me.
Because that big.
Too much.
If you were in charge, going back to Disney, if you could change one thing, or would there be anything you would change? What would you hate?
I would, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for not enjoying Star Wars and Marvel the same way as everybody else. I understand it is a phenomenon. It is taking over the world. I know they've both been around for a very, very long period of time. However, I genuinely believe that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which opens later this year, and of course the future Marvel developments for the parks, is going to be a big deal rolling forward for, say, the next 10 or 15 years. However, I think they really would belong in their own theme park rather than being kind of crammed into the other resorts and attractions, especially in Hollywood Studios right now. You've got quite a bit of a contrast between Star Wars, obviously you've got Star Tours and the new Galaxy's Edge area that are opening in separate areas of the entire park, and everything else just crammed in between. I really think if they're going to be that big and that special, they should have their own place and not touch on the charm of the classic Walt Disney World attractions like Tower of Terror, which we all know and love, obviously was changed in California. Praying it doesn't happen again in Florida.
Do you think there'll be a fifth gate? Think they'll open a fifth theme park?
I think so. I mean, at the moment, Marvel are very much based at Universal because the rights still belong to Universal. So that's why you might think, oh, I thought Disney bought those a few years ago. They did. They still own Marvel. However, Universal signed the rights back in the 90s to say they can keep the theme park attractions for as long as they want to. So until the day Universal decides to sell those rights, we are not seeing any Marvel too heavily in those theme parks. But when they do, I think that'll be the fifth theme park to be built at Walt Disney World, and it'll be a superhero-inspired theme park. That's not news, by the way. That's just speculation. But I can see that being quite a strong plan from Disney later down the line.
Because I know you've been to every single Disney park.
I have indeed.
Around the world. You're a member of the Six Castle Club.
I am. It's great.
So, in terms of Walt Disney World, where does that sit in the top six? Is that the ultimate?
No,
throwing that at you.
Yeah, you're throwing this, and I'm probably going to upset a lot of people, but I'd say it's probably quite towards the bottom of the list.
What?
I know, everyone's shocked. Oh my goodness, how could he say such a thing? But the thing is, for me, I am very much into the charm and beauty of those parks and the surroundings. Walt Disney World is a very, very big property. It's 44.5 square miles of site. It's a big place. It's very hard to, find your way around. It's not very easy to navigate. And sometimes things like pathways and themed lands end up being a little bit too big, in my opinion. I mean, they've got to because of how big the crowd numbers are that go there. I get that. However, sometimes you can't beat just walking down a nice main street, which is nice and quiet and chilled out. And I think Tokyo or California take that top spot for me. Walt Disney World would probably... I feel like I'm insulting other parks saying this, but I would probably sit Walt Disney World at number 4 out of the 6. So it's quite low, but it's not right at the bottom down there. It falls behind California, Tokyo and Paris for me in terms of parks, but that's mainly because of how big it is. And sometimes it is a little bit less fun because it's very, very commercialized. There's lots of billboards and adverts advertising, whereas the other parks offer a bit more of a unique charm. But it's still not a bad place. They're still all equally deserve to be the top 6 theme parks in the world, in my opinion. Theme park resorts, should I say. But in terms of the other parks, I'm sorry to say it sits at number 4 for me, but it's still up there. Still one of the best resorts in the entire world, if not the And it is, of course, the biggest theme park resort in the world. Very, very special.
Yeah. Have you got YouTube videos of all 6 parks?
So, yes, Sean, my best friend who runs Theme Park Worldwide on YouTube, definitely go and check that out. We have been to every single Disney park together. He's been to quite a few of the other ones on many other occasions too. He's done vlogs, off-rides, on-ride videos. Go and check them out if you really want to explore what there is out there in the world. He covers quite a lot of content. But certainly the Disney parks is very much a focal point for us, having visited all 6 resorts and all 12 theme parks.
You can spend hours of your life watching them.
You can.
Hours,
there's quite
days,
a few hours there.
Weeks.
Years, probably. Very much years.
Years.
And that's how much you're going to need to save to go to Walt Disney World if you plan incorrectly. So definitely I'm going to recommend go and plan, but definitely go. It's worth seeing.
Lovely chatting to you. Only one thing to say now, of course.
Go ahead.
Have a magical day.
And to you too. Thank you very much.
And if you want to join us on the podcast one week to share your memories, give me a shout. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram @PodMagical. If you are heading over to Orlando over the next couple of days, it's going to be hot and humid, temperatures in the low to mid-30s. Crowds have eased off a bit after last week's Independence Day, but we are getting into summer holidays now. Going on in the parks, Guardians of the Galaxy Mixtape Live is on at Epcot. You want to know more about that? Check out last week's episode. Also, something new that starts later on in the week, Animation Academy at Animal Kingdom. Now, I loved when they used to do this over at Hollywood Studios. They also still do it over at Disneyland in California. They do it on the Disney Cruise Lines as well, where they teach you how to draw Disney. Now, when you go to Animal Kingdom, get on the train over to Rafiki Planet Watch and learn how to draw some classic Disney animals. Top tip. Learn how to draw a circle first, because everything starts with a circle. I've got a dreadful attempt at drawing a Eeyore, which just looks like it's like a balloon with 2 sad sausages hanging off the side of it, but really good fun if you love to do that. And again, take advantage of the aircon. Outside the parks, Hagrid's ride is open at Universal. They're still having a few problems by the sound of it. Last I heard, it wasn't opening when the park opens, kind of late morning, early afternoon. So still a few teething problems over there. And if you fancy going to a gig, if you're in Orlando, and you love a bit of retro pop, Saturday, the 13th of July, big retro gig over at the Orlando Arena in the city centre, featuring New Kids on the Block, Salt and Pepper, Tiffany, and Debbie Gibson. Amazing. If you go to that, or if you're in the parks, don't forget to tag us @PodMagical over at Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Rounding up this week with Andy's top tip of the week. If you are using the FastPass, which I strongly recommend, if you've got it for free, take as many photographs as you can. It's having like your own personal photographer, not just on the rides, but they're all around the parks and they're with the characters. Now, my top tip, when you're having a photograph with the characters, the best pictures you will get, the greatest pictures they will take are the ones, not when you're posing with the characters, but the initial ones. When you're going for that first hug with Mickey or that high five with Donald Duck, they're the greatest photographs. So before you go in for your photographs, hold the kid back, right? Hold your children back. If there's a family or if there's a party in front of you, make sure they've had the photographs, make sure they scan their magic band, because that's what you do, you scan your magic band so it goes onto My Disney Experience. But make sure they've got out the way and the photographer is ready to take your photographs. Don't miss those first moments with the characters and you will have the greatest photographs. If you have any top tips, let me know. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @PodMagical, the same place to go if you want to share your Disney memories and come on the podcast for a chat. There's a brand new episode every Friday. Make sure you've subscribed and you can give us a rating as well if you like. We are on Apple iTunes and on Spotify. And until next week, please stand clear of the doors.